What up, Buckeye Nation? Welcome to the Scoop. It's good to be back. Just got back in at 10 a.m. this morning. Got to watch the Buckeyes play the Washington Huskies. An absolutely amazing time. Chat, we appreciate you guys for joining us. Decided to skip the intro video for today and just get right down to business. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. I haven't been on here. I'm talking about my trip, the game, thoughts, nothing like that. So dive into a little bit of that tonight. But chat, before we get going, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Super chats are open. I've listened to a lot of people talk about the game. I've heard some interesting takes. So we'll dive into that a little bit. But Nevada, how are you doing, brother?
Well, I'm better than you. I mean, I told you not to book the return flight with 7 layovers on the way back there, dude. You left on Sunday, you're getting back on Monday night, and there are other ways to do that, man. I'm telling you, you don't need to save the money that way there, Devin.
Well, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. Okay. Devin is a little bit bougie when it comes to flying anymore because I flew
Okay.
in first
Okay.
class one time
Ooh,
and
ooh.
decided I'll never fly regular again. So I
Yeah.
always fly first class, but this time my family was with me.
Oh no.
And they are the cheapest people you will ever meet in your life, right? So there is no first class, there's no upgrading seats with them. So I felt kind of bad. I sat with them. I did upgrade us. I upgraded all of us to exit seats at least because I'm like, dude, I can't do this. But it was a 6 hour nonstop flight. I flew from Seattle to Miami and then had a 3 hour layover in Miami to have a 45-minute flight to Tallahassee, dude. I was upset about it, to be honest with you. Upset. But hey,
Well,
family
but
time.
But how was the trip? Now tell me about the stadium. I haven't been
Okay.
to that stadium in 25 years. Just as a point of reference, the last time I was there, there was only one side of the stadium that was covered. Okay,
No.
like it would used to just be uncovered on whatever that side was. That was the side I was sitting on, the uncovered side. I saw in this video that looked like it's covered. How was the ingress, egress, parties, pregame, fans, reception to Ohio State? Give us the lowdown there, Dad.
Yeah. So we get in there. I got to tell you this story. I've already said it once on the show, but I just thought it was pretty cool that I'm on the flight over. I flew by myself there. I'm on the flight over, and I kept noticing this couple in front of us kept turning around and staring at me. And then when I get off the plane, they're sitting there waiting, and they're like, "Hey, you're that dude from Scoop, aren't you? Can I get a picture with you? Can I FaceTime my dad?" And then right after that, I got on FaceTime with his dad. He was like, "Hey, can you FaceTime Nevada? Can we talk to Nevada?" I'm like, "No, no, 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 we're not doing any of that." They're like, "Do you know Nevada?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know Nevada. I did a show with them yesterday." So not only that, I get out of the airport, sitting there waiting on my Turo, the car I rented, and this couple pulls off to the side and says essentially the same thing. And then we get to the hotel, and it was really cool, right, to see the outreach of Scoop. Man, it's all over. I mean, people recognize me from the channel, so I just think it's cool how close Buckeye Nation is, and how far some of these YouTube channels reach, all the way in Seattle. And there was a lot of Buckeyes there. To be honest, more than I expected. I mean, my hotel was full of it. Getting off the airport, Buckeyes everywhere, and most of them that I talked to were from Seattle. So it's not like I talked to a lot that were traveling. I talked to several of them that were from Seattle. So the fans, the Washington fans, I didn't have an issue with any of them. Okay, they were all. It was a little more welcoming than Autzen was last year, I would have to say. A little more welcoming. I had a couple issues in the Autzen Stadium last year, but this year I sat beside. My tickets were. I was the only Buckeye around. I was sitting in the middle of a bunch of purple. So anyway, we did the cruise, which was absolutely amazing. The cruise around the lake, got to see Mount Rainier, a boat full of Buckeyes. I briefly did the live stream from the boat, so those of you that watched that, you got to see that. That was a really neat experience. And pull up to the stadium. And like you said, Nevada, the couple I was sitting beside, the Washington couple, they explained to me that part. We were sitting on the side that wasn't covered because I was complaining because the sun was right in my eyes and face the whole time. It was extremely hot. But, got there, didn't have to wait in line long, went right up. sat down. It was pretty steep. It did not get not even close to as loud as Autzen did last year. But it's like, that kind of upsets me because I wanted to see. I kept hearing this place is louder, this place is louder. But I think the way the game played out, it never got that loud. I will tell you this. I did bust them pumping some serious sound into that stadium. The fans weren't loud enough. The speakers were louder than the fan noises they were playing through the speakers. It was an echo. And I'm like, you guys are busted, man. They were pumping some serious music into that, or noise into the stadium. But I mean, overall, it was about 70-30 Buckeyes. And I realized that when you watch the TV copy and you see all these videos around, it looks like there's way more red in the stadium, but there was not. I'm telling you, 70-30 is me being generous. Buckeyes traveled well. I mean, the second half, at one point in time, all you could hear was the Buckeye fans. So we traveled really well, but my guess is 70-30 that way. So Seattle, if I'm being honest, going from Florida to Seattle, I don't really. I'll go visit again, but it's not my style. I'm just not the whole city. Of course, Nevada, you know that. I prefer Tallahassee over Miami. So you got to
I
ask
know.
yourself who you're getting this info from, right? So, but no, overall, amazing time. It's always so cool to see Buckeye Nation. You know, people I've never met, but they got a Buckeye shirt on, and you can just go talk to them like you've known them forever. I mean, every Buckeye fan on that boat, you go talk to. You didn't even introduce yourself half the time. You just started talking Buckeyes, and people got along, and it was great. So, you know, my dad's first football game he went to, he thought it was cool. My brother was there with me. My Aunt Chris, shout out Aunt Chris. She's probably watching or on here somewhere. So overall, the trip side of it and the Seattle, where it was at, the stadium, nothing but good things. You can tell that if the game were to get close there, Nevada, that it would have been loud. You could get that sense. It's so steep. That stadium is so steep, kind of like Autzen is in a way, and that lake view and the jets flying over before the game, all that stuff. It was
Now,
a pretty nice experience.
now, question: was that the visiting side? So was the visiting team on your side of the field?
Well, that's one of my something I'm mad about is because when I bought the tickets, it said I bought them on the Ohio State side,
Okay.
but I wasn't on the Ohio State side. I was on the side. I was on the
Which
Washington side.
which I find interesting because, and I'd heard this from a couple other people. So I was wondering this question. So the Washington sideline had the sun baking the sideline the entire time, and the
They
Ohio
did.
State side was in the shade. I
Yep.
mean, to me, I would never do that as a football team. I mean, I think that's a huge mistake. I mean, am I making too much of that, or is that's a thing, isn't it?
No, you're not making too much of it because I was in the stands and felt that sun beating down on me. I was sweating. I took my shirt off in the stands and got yelled at for it, but I put it back on. But anyway, it was hot, man, like hot. So even the people I was asking, so I will tell this: some Washington fans got me because I first got in. I asked them where my seat section was because I didn't get a map, nothing. Normally, when I buy tickets, it gives me a little bit of directions, and they sent me all the way to the top of the wrong side of the stadium. And I know
Ooh,
they got me. I know
ooh.
they saw my Ohio State stuff, so they got us there. But it was all fun and games. But they even said that was the away side. They said, you're on the away side over there. And I was like, well, but Washington's on this side. What's going on here? And it seemed like I was sitting on the away side. You know how the stadium's built? Most things are on the other side, but that's not the way it was laid out. It confused me.
Wow.
So,
That's very interesting. How did you check out like the concessions or anything else like the bathrooms? How
oh,
was the
hey, listen, there's this thing about Seattle. So I went out to eat 4 times, and I guess this is just Seattle. So I guess I can't say it was bad service if it's like what it normally is there, but I noticed like service there, it took me 25 minutes to get a pretzel with cheese from the concession stand.
Oh
It
wow.
took me in every restaurant I stepped foot in, I didn't place my drink order until I sat there for 20 minutes. But that just seemed like maybe I went to all the wrong places. They weren't busy and nothing. It just seemed like the service there was a little bit more laid back. The concessions weren't that expensive, But I mean, they had one lady handing out, and they served nachos, and you could put meat and onions and peppers. And it's not something you serve at a concession stand because it takes 10 minutes to make each plate. You know, you got to go through your 20 different toppings you offer and put it on there for people. And so that was not good. So
Wow.
I got a pretzel. I took one bite of it and threw it away. So,
Wow. Wow.
but
Well,
yeah.
Devin, thank you for that incredible report right there. Did at any point when you're on the sailing thing, did you jump out and ride a whale or anything like that, or a dolphin or anything else like that where you're out there, or you just stayed on the boat the whole time?
No, unfortunately, I stayed on the boat, but I
Uh,
did stay for 2 days afterwards and went exploring. On another show, I took a lot of pictures. I got pretty close to a sea lion, or
Very nice.
not. I don't think they're called sea lions. They're called seals or something like that. There
Uh,
at the bay, I hiked up top 4 miles to a mountain, and it was very sketchy. There's a chain that says "Do not cross." I crossed it, went to the other side. I got pictures and videos. You guys will love it. I'm going to play it on one of the shows. So overall, a great time, and it helps Nevada that the Buckeyes won. Right? I
oh
was a
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah,
little
yeah.
bit nervous at first. Little bit nervous in that first quarter because it seemed like the Buckeyes came out a little flat, but after the Brandon Ennis fumble and after the Buckeyes recovered from that, there was no more nervousness from me after that. You could kind of see on the field that the Buckeyes were pretty dominant at the line of scrimmage and every other position. So,
Well, we could hear on the TV broadcast somebody screaming from the visiting sideline, "Watch out for the fake field goal." Was that you, Devin? Did you scream,
yep,
"Watch out for the fake goal"? Well, thank you for
called
that.
that.
Called
Yeah,
that. Very
yes.
excellent, excellent job.
Thank you, Jed Fish, for one of them. If you're a psycho football fan, you understand why I did it. Ohio State versus Washington, you got to take a chance that you're in the hope and winning. But at the same side, where the game was at, the feel of the game, I was like that. That was probably one of the dumber calls I've seen. In the moment, that's how I felt though, and it was nowhere close to being successful at all. You
Well,
saw the
well, well,
defense; they were
well,
ready for that.
no, but that was the problem. The problem, like, and what I here's what I don't understand. I understand making the call. I get it. You want to fire up the crowd, go up 10-0, blah 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 blah. But when you see the defensive alignment, you have to call timeout and call it off.
Yeah,
You can't run that play into that defense. I mean, that defense was clearly a field goal safe. Watch out for I mean, they had three guys on that side nobody was even rushing. So, yeah, I thought that was a huge error by a coach trying to do a little too much, trying to get a little too cute, and yeah, I thought that was clearly a big moment in the game, no doubt. It seemed like everything kind of went downhill for Washington after that moment, but certainly an unforced error by him for sure.
yeah. You know, I gotta say, I know I say this all the time, and I know you experience the same thing, Nevada, but dude, these TV timeouts in games, I don't think you realize that you don't realize until you go the amount of breaks that these players are getting. It gets to the point where instead of worrying about them getting tired, I worry about them getting tight again and not staying loose on the sideline during all the timeouts. They will have a 2-minute TV timeout, go out, run literally one play, and then it goes back to a 2-minute TV timeout. And it's just like most of the time, it just feels like you're sitting there idling. And you saw the Ohio State players, Caleb Downs on all the TV timeouts. He stays sprinting and running, and but he was the only one I saw doing that. Everybody else just kind of chilling.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a something. And and again, going back to the thing that we talked about earlier, the games are long, and when you're on the sideline with the sun baking your sideline right there, that just doesn't seem like. I know the Miami Dolphins do it exactly the opposite way. They have the visiting team in the sun. They're at the Hard Rock Stadium, and the visiting teams always complaining about that because they're like, we're in the sun and they're on the shade there with thing. It's like, yeah, that's called smart. That's home field advantage. So I don't know
Yeah,
how Washington hasn't figured that out.
yeah. Matt, so I want to ask you. I wanted to ask you. I almost asked you guys in the text, but I want to see the difference from watching on a TV, watching in person. If you were to say one Buckeyes name after that game, you got to pick one name to say offensive, defensive side of the ball that stood out the most to you while you were watching the game. Don't take into account, hey, what are their stats after the game? And you've heard all these podcasts and all this. You haven't, but I mean, you know what I'm saying? People are talking at this point in time. What's the one person's name that you while you were watching the game, you were like, holy crap, this person is just winning every single snap?
Well, to me, it was really two guys. It was Caden Curry and Arvell Reese. I mean, those two, just from watching the game, from forget the stats, forget everything. It just seemed like those guys were everywhere on the field, making every tackle. And I don't know. Were you able to catch that when you were at the game? Was it so obvious to you at the game, or did you just only get that kind of in a game review type of situation, or was it evident when you were there?
No, the Caden Curry was very evident. I watched the line a lot. That's probably, if I'm not watching the ball, if I kind of get a feel where the ball's going, I'm watching the line. Caden Curry really stood out of just dominating every single rep. And I'll tell you this, that Arvell Reese, that play that he made on Damon Williams when they're down there close to red zone, I don't know what it looked like on TV, but live, that was a big time play. I don't know how he did that. I really don't. I thought for sure. I watched it play out, watched Arvell running towards him, and I got a little nervous, like this dude's quick, because I've seen him in previous games, but Arvell took him down like it was nothing. So he is scary, man. Just that play alone right there tells you everything you need to know about Arvell Reese, because he's what is he, 50 pounds heavier than that dude, 6 inches taller, and that dude could not outrun him. So, and then the other one, if I had to give another name, it's K-Mac. K-Mac also wins every rep. He's just dominant, dude. He's like a bowling ball in there. You just cannot stop him. So,
Well, who stood out to you on offense when you were watching? I mean, the offense was kind of a mixed bag. Did enough to win. Wasn't particularly prolific, but who did you notice on the offensive side?
Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
Bo Jackson to me live, and I don't know if this makes sense or not, but when I've watched Bo Jackson versus the other running backs on TV, I've thought, okay, he's better. But during that Washington game, watching them live, I don't know why this changed, but he went up like a whole two other notches above the other running backs. Watching him in person, watching the holes he hits in person, the way he operates, how hard he is to get down on the ground. I mean, his head will be 6 inches off the ground and he's still running. Like the flexibility he has, the holes he was going through were like this, his ability to slip through holes. It's not close at all. Bo Jackson is our best running back that we have. And I'm not saying the other guys suck by any means. I'm just saying that's how big the difference is. Bo Jackson stood out to be on offense. And obviously the Jeremiah Smiths, when he touched the ball, how quick he is, but that's given, man. And then Brandon Ennis on his screen passes he caught and his ability to shake free that fumble, he did what he needed to do to get me back on his good side, if that's the way to say it, because I was pretty upset with him at first.
So you're on Team Brandon. You're fully on Team
Yeah,
Ennis as
I
the
am.
third one. I got you. Yeah, I have to say I wasn't exactly there when he fumbled there. I was on Team send Brandon to the bench, but he won me back over with that stuff. And I agree with you on Bo Jack. We talked about a stat last night. Bo Jackson's miss rate of making the first guy miss is 22%, and
Golly.
CJ Donaldson's 4. So it kind of gives you a perspective on how good CJ Donaldson, or excuse me, how good Bo Jackson is, just all around.
Yeah,
That certainly was a telling stat.
yeah. I want to bring up two more things that I saw during the game, and then we'll dive into the unsung hero, even though we're kind of crossing paths a little bit here with the unsung hero thing, in my opinion. But number one, I don't know if you went back and watched the game yet, but I don't know how I caught this live. But number one, Julian Sain showed some of his legs this game, and I was very excited to see that. He has the ability to do that. We saw that, maybe not the fastest, but you watch his high school film and you were wondering, hey, we saw him get around in high school. Well, some of his runs look really good in high school. So we saw some of that. But I also watched him block for his running back on one play. I don't know if anybody else caught that or not, but Julian Same handed the ball off and went running down the field and laid a block for
Darnell Tate.
it might have been. It might have been for
Yep.
somebody.
Yep.
I haven't saw that. So that was one thing I wanted to bring up about Julian. He's just a gamer, dude. Just a gamer. And then Dude, my dude, Jaden Fielding, bro. when if you want to call it a tackle on the kickoff return, I don't know if you want to call that, but he stopped him, man. I mean, that was live. That looked nasty. I mean, he just got absolutely bulldozed over, but he brought it to the field. So the cojones to stand in front of that dude when he's running full speed and tackle him. Shout out, Jaden Fielding. That was a pretty good play, my dude. Pretty good play.
Yeah, Jaden's quietly having a nice year. He's quietly, making the field goals when we need him to. And yeah, that obviously was a big tackle. And I liked his other kicks kind of going through the back of the end zone. So no, he's doing a nice job. And yeah, Julian, that was on that reverse to Carnell Tate in the red zone. Did a
Mm,
nice job, kind of screening him off. Nice little block there. And his running he was opportunistic. He improved our position on that one field goal. Got us to go 7, 8, 9 yards closer. Made that from a little longer field goal to pretty much a chip shot. And yeah, I'm really pleased with Julian and Julian's progression, um, because he's doing enough to win, and he's accurate with the ball, and he's not just throwing. Like how many times did he throw like interception worthy passes on Saturday? I don't think there was one. I don't think there was a single pass where you're like, oh, that's in trouble. Like he puts the ball where it needs to be, and when there's nothing there, he just gets rid of it, or runs or gets a yard or whatever it might be. So no, I'm very excited about the future with Julian Sand, and thought he showed a lot of things this week in a very tough road environment.
yeah. In person, Iggy was very impressive as well on defense, especially his run defense. The tackle, he made a very nice tackle on a player, but man, he just brings the fire, and I think he's stepped his game up this year. So that's exciting to see. But Nevada, you mentioned you want to talk a little bit about unsung heroes today, and that seems to be like there's some obvious ones, and then I think there's some on my side. I think there's some less obvious ones that people aren't talking about enough. But go ahead and open this thing up, man. When you hear unsung hero on this Ohio State team, it feels like it's just full of heroes. But where would you go first in the
Uh,
unsung hero category?
Well, I'm going to steal from the helping technician who kind of making a list of his stuff, and he's pretty dialed in. And the guy that was at the top of his list was going to be the top of my list was Will Kazmarek. Not a guy that a lot of people talk about, not a lot of guy that catches a lot of balls, or is going to leave with a bunch of touchdowns or yards or whatever it is. But I'm telling you what, he makes the running game go. I mean, he is a devastating blocker, in the running attack. And when you look at the good rushes that we've had this year and last year, he's generally at the forefront of that stuff. And you talk about a guy that sticks his nose in there, and he just relishes, making blocks and freeing up other guys to kind of go do their thing. But Will Kazmarek, was a guy, and it was just so interesting because I remember the day that when he transferred. And I talked to one of my guys there at Ohio State, and they're like, I said, "What do you think of Will Kazmarek?" He's like, just a guy, Jag, just a guy. And so I kind of went into it with that impression. Then as I've been watching him over the last couple of years, I'm like, man, he is an absolute vital cog to our Russian attack. And you cannot have enough guys like Will Kazmarek on your team. So yeah, he'll be my number one unsung hero. Does all the dirty work, doesn't get the stats, doesn't get the limelight, not going to score the touchdown, get the pretty girls, but does a lot to help the Buckeyes win on Saturdays for sure.
Yeah, that's a good one. Just when you're a blocking tight end, you know, you're not going to get your name called a bunch. You're not going to be seen a lot on the field, especially during the game while you're watching and stuff. He's going to be on the back end, behind the ball or in front of the ball, making blocks that are needed. And for him to go from Ohio to Ohio State last year, he was serviceable for us, made some big time plays for us in big time situations, and it seems he stepped his game up. And Keenan Bailey, all our tight ends, what Keenan Bailey's doing with that tight end room is pretty wild. Man, the one I want to talk about, he's kind of getting some, we've known about him, so I don't know whether you want to consider him an unsung hero. I just think he's kind of going under the radar. Not so much now, because after this game, I think he's the only left tackle in the nation in FBS to not allow a hurry or a sack. I forget what the actual stat is on his quarterback, but Austin Searveld at left tackle, going from guard last year to left tackle this year, playing in that environment, playing in that stadium. I believe he was the highest graded PFF offensive lineman that we had. I believe so. But I just think what he's doing this year so far deserves more credit than people are talking about. And I realize that's a little different right now because people are now, we've talked about him several times on this show. So you get into that. Well, really, is he really an unsung hero? Because we talk about him all the time. But when I hear that word, that's just one I want to bring up because you get Ethan Onionwa. We all thought he would be the left tackle. Then you hear about the battles in there, and our left guard ends up winning the left tackle job. And so far this year, he has absolutely dominated in what he's needed to do.
Well, I think, look, the offensive line thing, it's an educational tool for everybody that looks and follows Ohio State football and follows this podcast. Because generally what happens is, and this sounds kind of obvious, but it's not obvious to a lot of people. Your left tackle doesn't need to be 6'8" with a 7'1" wingspan and 340 pounds. Yeah, that's the prototype. We'd all wish that we had Taylor Decker out there or something, but we're not. We don't always have Taylor Decker. So what you want to have is you want to have your best player out there at left tackle, and so that means Jack Muhort, who a lot of people had pinned in as an interior guy, center or guard. He was a terrific left tackle at Ohio State. Rob Sims. Rob Sims, 6'2" or whatever, went on to a great NFL career, but not anything that didn't look anything like a classic left tackle. We beat the mighty Miami Hurricanes, won a national championship with Rob Sims at left tackle. So Austin Seyerveld, he's your best player, and they've just decided that it's the most important position. You put your best player out there, and this is a guy that, I mean, it wasn't highly regarded coming out of high school. If I would have offered you odds that he was a starting left tackle for Ohio State and playing at an All-American level, I'm not sure what kind of odds I could have gotten on that, but they would have been incredibly long. I guess the moral of the story is you just never know. And yeah, the stat is obviously not a lot of sack, hasn't even a lot of pressure. He's the
Yep.
only left tackle in all of college football that has not even allowed a pressure in 4 games, which is absolutely amazing. And the way we know that is because you never hear his name. His side of it just gets erased. He actually knocked this guy out of the game. I don't know if you saw that in the game, like knocked him out of the game. And
It did.
I mean, Austin's a bad man, and playing so well. Yeah, obviously not as unsung now, but certainly somebody, if you go back to the Wayback Machine, 4 months ago and said, "Hey, who's going to be a starting left tackle?" I mean, everybody thought it was going to be Ethan, the guy, the highest paid guy, the guy that went out and the guy that's the NFL scouts for. Ethan probably would have gone in the second, third round of the draft this year had he gone out. Instead, he comes to Ohio State, can't find the field. A cautionary tale about transfer portal, a cautionary tale about writing guys off that are on the Ohio State team, because you just never know who's going to be the guy that's going to rise up and be the player.
Yeah. Matt, I'm gonna do something a little different here because this is I've been wanting to talk about this. I'm gonna do an unsung position group here, and this is one of those situations where not so much here. We've seen what this position group has been able to do since the season started, but before the season, everybody was freaking out, and now this is, you could argue they're the number one defensive line in the nation with what these guys are able to do, with what Caden Curry did this game, K-Mac, and Kenyatta Jackson, and also unsung hero individually in that group would be Tywan Malone. Not that he's playing at an elite level by any means, but he has stepped up. He started this game. Edric Houston has been off of his game, and Tywan Malone has earned the coach's trust to come in, step up, and fill that void that needed to be filled with the depth on this defensive line. So, I mean, you look at the most impactful players on this defense through these 4 games, statistically anyway. I mean, 2 defensive linemen are going to be at the top of that list with K-Mac and Caden Curry. And that is just saying a lot for the Larry Johnson haters are not having a good day. They're not having a good year so far with talking about we need somebody else with recruiting and all these things, with what he's able to do with the 6'3", 260-pound Caden Curry that does not have the physical tools that everybody drools over in the transfer portal and in high school recruiting. what he's able to do with him is, he set the Ohio State record for tackles for loss in one game. 5 tackles for loss in one game, 3 sacks, another one at the nose position, at the nose guard position. I mean, what this defensive line is doing is exceeding my expectations. And I wasn't one of those fans that was freaking out by any means. But when you look at this defensive line with Bo Atkinson coming in, Will Smith Jr. coming in, he's our number 3 highest rated PFF. I don't know why I've been looking at PFF a lot. You can't really gain too much from there, but the highest defensive players on this team are all defensive line. The first 3 are defensive linemen, with Will Smith being number 3. So I know I cheated there, Nevada, but I just feel like this defensive line from preseason to now, for some fans, has to be absolutely night and day, because we are getting the job done. This red zone defense is scary, and that's crazy to say.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you called out Will Smith Jr. because he's, I mean, he's getting reps, he's getting time, and Taiwan's, is getting what, 40 reps, 45 reps last game or something. I mean, there's significant playing time, and obviously we're all rooting for Edric Houston to be the guy that we know he can be. But in the meantime, those guys are, kind of toiling a little bit in the shadows. But no, I agree with you. I think if you're going to make an argument for best defensive line in the country, Ohio State's got to be in the discussion. And that, talk about another thing that wasn't on people's bingos card. That
Yeah.
for sure was not on people's bingo card, because people were freaking out we were going to be able to field a team. Like, like we might as well cancel the season because we don't have, whatever defensive ends or defensive. I didn't know what or fire Larry Johnson now, and I don't know where all that stuff is now, but yeah, defensive line's playing at a high level, and certainly exceeded everybody's expectation. I want to point out another guy in the defense while we're talking defense, a guy that helping technician had kind of mentioned this before, but Ryan Day came out today at the press conference and singled him out, and that's Aaron Scott, and talked about he has been the first one down the field on kickoffs like 13 straight times or something like that, some ridiculous stat like that. Made big tackles, and there's nothing that ingratiates you more to the staff than busting your butt on special teams. You know what I'm saying? Because you get a chance to go to special teams, and if you do that kind of work and you put yourself kind of out there, they will reward you with playing time. And so they're going to start rewarding Aaron Scott with playing time because he's playing so darn hard on the special team. So yeah, another guy, an unsung hero, a guy that isn't in the starting rotation, isn't really, when we talk about defensive backs and people want to talk about Jermaine Matthews or Iggy or Devin Sanchez, or they forget when they get to Aaron Scott, but the staff hasn't forgotten. And that's a guy that I think is going to start getting more burn here in the future, primarily because of his outstanding work on the special teams.
Yeah, and I absolutely love hearing that 5-star corner from Ohio. In the offseason, it was this Devin Sanchez, Aaron Scott kind of wondering, hey, who's going to fill that role there? In Texas game, Devin Sanchez, not Aaron Scott. And you kind of wonder, how's he going to respond to that? How would you respond to that? You're a sophomore in the program, 5-star recruit, highly sought after, and you get passed by a freshman on the roster. That, I think this situation here with what Aaron Scott is doing on special teams and getting brought up, I mean, speaks enormously to the culture of this Buckeye team and what Ryan Day is able to do with this team right there, because that's a rough situation. And if you look at a lot of this team, Nevada, Caden Curry, Kenyatta Jackson, look at how tough all these and they had to wait their time. That's not normal in today's college football. That's just not normal. Kids, they don't want to do that. Players, they don't want to do that, especially if they're as good as Aaron Scott, Caden Curry, Kenyatta Jackson, K-Mac. Had to sit behind Tyleek Williams last year. He didn't get near enough snaps, I thought, last year, but he waited his turn. And, especially this Aaron Scott situation, it's speaking volumes to the culture of this Buckeye team.
Well, especially in this age of the portal and NIL, where if those guys put themselves on the market, what could guys like that command out there in the open marketplace? I mean, heck, George Fitzpatrick, the guy that was buried so far on the Ohio State depth chart that nobody even know who he was, he's getting like $1 million, you know, this year. So I mean, it's crazy how much money these guys can get if they put themselves out there. And yeah, it worries me a little bit with a kid like Malik Hartford, who we saw neck and neck, with McLean for that other safety spot. Hadn't seen the field. Like not at all. Like not at all. And that's a little concerning because I've always felt really, really highly about him, thought the terrific player. But I want to single out another guy on the defense, flying a little bit under the radar, but really going in there at key times, playing it really well is Peyton Pierce. I mean, as much as we want
Yep.
to talk about Sonny and we want to talk about Arvell, Peyton Pierce, I mean, he's a favorite of that staff, man. They really like him and they really think he's like the next really good one. I dare say great one, but they really think he's going to be a guy that's going to be a really solid contributor down the road. Um, and they're feeding him. They're rewarding him. They're giving him time out there. He's out there at key spots. Very responsible player. Very sure tackler. Very tough kid. Very strong kid. But Peyton Pierce, another guy to look out for, kind of on the unsung heroes, is somebody who can emerge here down the stretch.
Yeah, and when you look at his snap count and his stats, you can't look at that and judge how much of an unsung hero he's been. He only got 7 snaps in the Washington game, but he got 1 tackle in those snaps. He's always in the right spot. But look at who's ahead of him. Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese, two of the best, one of the best linebacker in the nation, and another top 5 linebacker in the nation is in front of him, and he's still able to see a field in a game where not a lot of depth got on the field. There was not a lot of rotation in this game at all because there were so few snaps. There didn't need to be a lot. So when you count that and factor that into it as well, it's pretty wild. I mean, Edric Houston got 11 snaps. Will Smith Jr. got 9. Tyrone Malone Jr. Nevada, he got 31 snaps this game. So
Yeah,
that's exciting to see as well.
he gobbled up a lot for sure.
Yeah, he did. So it's cool to see. I love watching it. Nevada, you've been in this a long time. I'm sure that's why I love. Before I ever did this, I'd listen to Scoop and listen to you guys talk. And when I first started listening, there were things that I didn't agree with you guys on. Me being a new fan, diving into this as deep as I was, and I realize now that the preseason talk and expectations and all that, it just a lot of that just changes. Caden Curry was last on the list for defensive ends that people were excited about. Last. I mean, I didn't hear anybody talking about him coming in and making a difference and, people like that. So it's cool to see, what a culture like Ohio State, a program like Ohio State, how it pushes people and players to come up and make impacts. And you see Peyton Pierce getting in a room that's star-studded as well. And the future of this Buckeye team is it's absolutely relentless. But Nevada, I wanted to ask you a question here. During the game, I'm gonna be honest, I got a little upset. I saw Low Styles miss a tackle. Well, actually, he didn't miss the tackle. His knee ended up being down. But there was a lot of people after the game bringing him up, wanting other people. We know what happened last game there. I went back and watched a little bit of Lorenzo Styles. I think he's balling out. I think he's doing very well. Leader on this team. You see nobody come in, subbing it out. The coaches put a lot of trust in him. What's your thoughts on how Lorenzo Styles is playing and how he responded in this game to the criticism, per se, that people were giving him for that missed tackle in the Ohio game?
Yeah, I think, I mean, look, Ohio State fans are tough, man. They are tough. And as soon as you saw that play, you knew immediately what the narrative was going to be on Lorenzo's side. Like there was absolutely no doubt. He was just like, he sucks, he can't tackle, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. No, I think Lorenzo is kind of like Forrest Gump, man. He's in a lot of key plays and you don't really realize, but every time you look, he's in there. I think he's a lot better player than that. He's had a little bit of bad variance here the last couple of games. But no, I'm certainly very bullish about his future. I don't think Aaron Scott's time is going to come at his expense. I think it's just I think they're going to try to get as many guys on the field as they possibly can. But no, I really like Lorenzo's style. I mean, look, frankly, I'd like to see Sonny. Sonny, you know who Arvell Reese is? Arvell Reese is who I hoped Sonny Styles would be. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
see how fluid Arvell is? Like you talked about when he shedded that block, went out to the open field, guy's gonna juke him, and he just doesn't have any of it, just stays with him the whole way, grabs him, throws him down the ground like a small child. And you know, Sonny just always seems a little stiff to me. And again, maybe I'm picking nits or whatever it is, but I mean, Arvell is the best linebacker in the country. I don't think that's hyperbole. I think that's an absolutely appropriate statement. I think he is the best linebacker in the country, and I think he's so much better than Sonny. And again, I'm not digging on Sonny Styles. I'm not like, oh, this is bashing on Sonny Styles, but um, I Sonny doesn't seem to move the way Arvell moves. It's crazy how well Arvell moves out there. And I mean, do you see the same thing I do, or am I just kind of looking at the world through kind of a faulty glass?
No, you're not. I mean, that's one of the observations from the game. And what it looks like when I'm watching the games is it looks like Arvell is way more confident. But I'm not sure that's what it is. I think it's what, Goj said in the chat. It's instincts. Like, man, he just flew like that. Um, Quarterback did not almost get away from him. That wasn't an arm tackle. That wasn't a, and he did. He tried to stop and juke back inside, and Arvell was just all over it. But you go watch him play in other plays, going up in the box, shedding blocks, able to get to the outside, the right place at the right time. I mean, it seems like his confidence and his instincts are just a split second above Sonny in that situation. I don't know if that's just he's quicker, stronger, faster, all those things. I think he is. But Sonny Styles ain't no slouch physically either. Like the NFL is going to drool over him because of the way he's going to test out. But I do see what you're saying there. I saw it a couple times, during the game and in previous games where it's just like, about a half. You know how you talk about Julian Sand growing as a quarterback, and it seems like he takes that half. I can't tell you how many times Julian Sand playing phenomenal, by the way. So everybody's going to take this the wrong way. But I can't tell you how many times in the Washington game I said, throw the ball, throw the ball, throw the ball. And then a second later, he threw the ball. It's like we're seeing it from the stands. Like, of course, you're always going to do that. When you sit in the stands, it's a lot easier. But just seems to be that tick behind. I think that kind of relates to the Sonny Styles situation as well.
Yeah, well, I agree with on Julian. I think Julian's just being a little careful. He's taking that extra little pat of the ball before he's delivering it, and I think I agree with you. I think that's why Max Clare on those plays is getting so close to the sideline. That
Mm-hmm.
ball could have been thrown a beat quicker, and he doesn't have to make this miraculous drag your foot type of catch and stuff like that. And but then other times, like on that screen pass to JJ for the touchdown, it was right there. Now he had
Oh
to
yeah.
deliver it at that point, but that was perfectly timed up and perfectly thrown, and short little pass, but that one took to the crib. But yeah, the funny thing is kind of interesting because Arvell just I mean, Arvell moves like your little nephew playing pee wee football out there in the safety spot out there. The way he just kind of so fluid, he just kind of goes there,
Yeah.
attacks the ball carriers, and just kind of throws them down. Yeah, Arvell's he's so freaking good. I mean, if you ever like linebacker play, watch Arvell during the games. Just watch Arvell during the game because he is just, I mean, he's a man playing against boys out there. He's so fast. He's so strong. He gets to the spot there. I'm not even sure. I'm trying to think of a comparison. I'm not sure I've ever seen a linebacker at Ohio State. I've seen guys that have had that level of instincts or better instincts, the Spielmans, the Gradishars, or the Cousineaus. But that level of athleticism combined with that, I don't know if I've ever seen it. I'm being serious. I mean, AJ Hawk didn't move like that. AJ Hawk, great legendary, Hall of Fame, pantheon of greats. But I mean, Arvell is just he's a different cat, man. I'm telling you what, it's fun. It's certainly fun to watch.
Yeah. I will say this, however. I think that Arvell is able to do some of the things that he's able to do because of Sonny Styles. What I mean by that is during the game, I love watching Caleb Downs and Sonny Styles. There was a couple times in that game where it did get loud, and when you look down on the field, it's Sonny Styles getting the defense together, communicating, pointing, pulling guys where they need to be. Caleb Downs doing the same thing, and it's really cool to watch. We haven't talked about Jalen McLean much yet, but it's cool to watch him do the same thing. The communication on the back end and the entire defense is absolutely phenomenal. And I think Sonny Styles' ability to orchestrate that, be the leader of this defense, allows Arvell to play at the speed he's playing at because he's making sure everybody's lined up in the right positions, doing their job. And if Sonny is doing his job, then Arvell can completely unleash and do what he needs to do. So that's a little bit of that, there. That's what I see. Sonny Styles, that the thing you don't really get to see much is his leadership of this defense. Next time, when you rewatch this game, people in the chat, watch Sonny Styles' communication. Watch what he does back there, and he is pivotal for this defense. I think he's one of the reasons why the defense is playing the way it is. With what Sonny's able to communicate on the back end and to the D line and everybody.
Yeah, I mean, having him and Caleb. I mean, Caleb obviously is a guy that
Yeah,
is wise way beyond his years, and to have basically, you really think about it, Caleb's basically playing almost like another linebacker position. So you could really make an argument that your linebackers are Arvell, Sonny, and Caleb, and that's three pretty athletic, smart, experienced guys there at the
yeah,
linebacker thing. I'm not sure. Let's put it this way, they'll be missed next year for sure.
yeah. All right, Nevada, one more thing. We'll dive into these super chats. We'll have to cut this down because what I'm about to bring up is a whole show. I bet you and B Moses have already covered some of it, but I almost called you just to get your take on this, so we'll do it live on air. It's interesting when you watch last year. I feel like the beginning of last year, people wanted more explosive plays as well. More snap. Why are we not playing tempo? Why are we not? I feel like we're hearing the same things now that we heard last year. And I think that if you really dive into it, it's you wonder if it's almost like a Saban-like boss move by Ryan Day that a lot of other coaches aren't paying much attention to, and that's the snap counts and being at your healthiest in the playoffs and being ready and bringing Julian along slow and some of these other players, bringing them along at a pace to where they can be their best win at the end of the year. The goal now is just to win the game, right? And they're able to do that. They're able to control the game on the defensive side of the ball, which allows them to not have to hurry up and make explosive plays. Now, I already know that Washington was playing like 6 deep the entire dang game, so they eliminated that for the most part. But still, if Ohio State wants to make explosive plays and speed things up, they could have done it. We saw that in the second half a couple times, speeding things up. There were some explosive plays, not downfield, but some of those crossing routes to JJ, catch the ball, dude's gone. So, what's your thoughts on that? You hear people questioning Ohio State's offense. When I hear people questioning Ohio State's offense, I personally don't. The fan in me, I want to see more excitement, but then it's like the football guy in me is like, okay, I understand this. I guess I'm trying to find out if I like it or not. And it's just like, it doesn't really matter if I do or not. Ryan Day won a national title doing it last year. So I think I'm going to buy all the way into that and agree with that. And, but it does make me a little bit nervous that if there's ever a game where we need to, that our lack of attempting it previously in games that we could have will harm us. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, let me start. A lot to unpack. Let me start it with a question. You were at the game, and you could see stuff that we couldn't really see on the television broadcast. But my sense was that Washington was playing that shell defense where they were playing those safeties back and not trying to allow JJ over the top. Is that what
Yeah.
you were seeing as well, or was that where my eyes deceiving me when I was watching the game?
And that's what I was seeing a lot. Most of the
Uh,
game, that's what I was seeing. And if they didn't show up pre-snap, when the ball was snapped, there was a safety back on JJ's side.
Yeah,
So
and that's pretty much what teams have been doing to try to confound us in terms of playing those shells. And when you do that, that doesn't call for you to take the deep shots because that's somewhat problematic. So I think it's a couple of the things that you said, and then a couple one more tweak on it. They want to bring Julian along slowly. They want to manage reps and number of snaps and things like that. They felt that gave them a big edge come playoff time, that they were the fresher teams as they kind of went down there in terms of restricting number of plays. And the point that we talked about last night on our show, which I thought was a really good one made by the helping technician, was they want to use that time to coach up Julian on the helmet comms before every play. And if you go fast, you can't do that. If you slow down, you get that 10, 12, 15 seconds to talk to him, and tell him what's coming up next, what to look for, what his keys are, things like that. And they're really digging that they can do that with this young quarterback. And that's something that, before helmet communications, that was never a thing. That just didn't exist. I remember when I was in high school, I used to run over to the sideline to get the play. Like literally, you'd have to run over to the sideline. The coach would tell you the play, then you'd run back. Or if we really advanced it, we had somebody that would run in, like a wide receiver or something with the play. But I mean, you weren't getting somebody in your ear calmly talking to you about, okay, if they're playing cover two, look to the thing and then go to this tight end down the middle. I mean, like that's super helpful when you're out there on the field and people are screaming and things are going and stuff like that, and you can kind of give something there. So I think I think they are taking a slow and steady thing. They're taking the long view on this with not only Julian's development, but with the entire team's health and welfare, because they realize that this is these seasons are unprecedentedly long. If you go back and look through the history of Ohio State football, we'd have teams that finish the season 9-1 or 10-0 or whatever it was. Now it's like you're gonna have to win 17 games. You know what I'm saying?
It's a
So
lot.
it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, you're gonna be in 17, you're gonna be 15-2 or something like that. And it's a completely different experience, and you need to coach it differently. And I think that's what Ryan Day's doing.
Yeah. I mean, I can't complain about anything the Buckeyes are doing so far defensively preseason. I know you had the same take that we knew this offense was going to be fun to watch, but I think we were all more excited to watch Matt Patricia in this defense, and um, he's doing exactly what we expected, or more than what I expect him to do. And these players are, by the way, as well, like learning all the things that he's teaching him, the NFL concepts, the different packages, all that. That's a lot to change and learn for some of these players. So they've done a phenomenal job as well. This defense is the best in the nation. And this defense is, I dare say, better than our defense last year in some areas for sure. So we'll see when it gets down to the playoff time. We'll see, because that's when it's really going to count. When you're at the end of the season, are you able to still play at the level that you're playing right now? Offensively, Carson Hinsman is the best center in the nation and sneakily having an All-American type of season so far. At least I saw that based off some stats I saw floating around Twitter and all those other places. And he's on the PFF thing. He's our number one, pass blocking offensive lineman on the team right now. So this offensive line stepping up. They all have another year of eligibility, which Nevada has said multiple times. Wait till this team next year, man. If we can keep some of these people, Arvell Reese, Caleb Downs, K-Mac, Caden, keep some of these guys back that we can keep back anyway, watch out. But this year, I'm excited. Julian saying they're going to keep turning him more loose and more loose. I wish they would have done that a little bit more earlier in the Washington game, but they ended up doing it, and he does the right things, bringing him along. You got to trust Ryan Day, trust Larry Johnson, trust his coaching staff. It's great to be a Buckeye, man. End a 22-game winning streak at one of the hardest places to play in the nation. First time starting quarterback. The number one offense, they went in, held to 6 points, and they should have only scored. Well, they probably should have scored more with the penalties that were going on sometimes, but they did it. It's good to be a Buckeye. Nevada, we'll dive into these super chats. You got anything to say to that before we dive into these super chats?
No, well said. It's good to be a Buckeye, and we're 4-0, getting ready to be 5-0, and get Ryan Day the greatest winning percentage in college football history on Saturday.
Yeah. Here we go. Chris Lane, thank you for the $10. My beautiful date tonight is a Duck fan from Oregon. Please still love me, okay? Well, Chris, man, I'll let Nevada go first on this one.
Yeah, no, it's totally okay to date somebody from Oregon. You just cannot marry anybody from Oregon. So your real date from Oregon is okay. It's all right for dating, but marriage is off the table. Just so you know, we're taking this off right now, and so just enjoy your time together. But there's nothing serious, no serious stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like, but we need to know how serious of an Oregon fan she is. Is she from Oregon? So she said she loves it, or does she watch Oregon? Does she root for Oregon against Ohio State? If she does, then that wouldn't work for me, but that's just me, right? I've had girlfriends that weren't football fans, meaning they weren't Ohio State fans, but because I cheered for them, they did. That's on my checklist of, hey, future girlfriend / wife is they can't
No,
root for
no,
another
no, but
team.
no, but Devin, let me ask you a serious question. Serious
Okay.
question. Give me a serious answer. Okay, serious
All
time
right, I
now.
will.
If you met the girl, she's great, she's perfect, she's awesome. Checks every box for you. Huge Michigan football fan. Is that a deal breaker for you?
Are we talking when we first met? Or are we talking 2 months down the road? I find out she's a.
I'm saying 2 months down the road, and she's everything, and you're like hoopty doopty, and this is
And
oh
she's a
wow,
huge Michigan fan.
she's a huge Michigan fan.
There's just no way it would.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any way it would. I mean, Jesus would have to perform a miracle.
yeah.
Something would have to change inside of me. But I'm being as honest as I can be. I cannot imagine that working. I do know people that make it work, but for me right now in my life, maybe I would change if I was in the situation. But I mean, no, like on my first dates, I let it be known. Like, when you're talking, it's like, hey, I'm a huge Ohio State fan. Like those are one of the first things I bring up, man. Maybe I'm crazy, but that's what I do.
Well, it's usually because you're wearing like the Ohio State sweatshirt or the big Brutus the Buckeye head when you come to the date and stuff like that. They probably know, Devin. I want you to know.
Yeah. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm getting the Block O tattooed on the front of my neck right here.
Nice,
That way I
nice.
don't always have to wear Buckeye stuff. People will
I
see
got it.
it. So
I like it. I
anyway,
like it.
D
Well,
Sonny, thanks for the $4.99. Come on, Dev. I've spent 25 minutes in line from the bathroom at an Ohio State home game, so we can't talk about Seattle. Yeah, man, I wasn't talking about the bathroom. I didn't wait in the line in the bathroom at all. I was talking about the concession stand. And I waited in line for 15 minutes to order, and I ordered and then sat beside them waiting for 25 minutes for them to grab a pretzel out of the warmer and a thing of cheese already made and hand it to me. Okay? So that's what we're talking about. I'm not
now,
talking about
did you go to the bathroom, or were you catheterized before you went to the stadium?
no.
Did you actually
I
you
it,
or your dad, Papa Devin had to go to the bathroom, right?
yeah. My whole family went to the bathroom several times.
How long was the bathroom? Was it bad or nothing
No,
notable?
I never. I always went right in. So Mars seats were really close to a bathroom, and there was never a wait. The bathrooms in Seattle are a little different. I'm not going to dive all the way into it and cause an uproar on the channel or anything, but you got to pay attention what you're doing in a bathroom in Seattle, and in the men's bathroom, it's just a big trough. There's no individual urinals. It's a big trough. It's like a feeding trough for my cows back in Ohio. You just go to
Oh,
the bathroom. You can squeeze right side by side. So they're
oh,
getting a lot of
ooh,
dudes in and out of that bathroom at one time. So
oh,
interesting,
ooh,
experience for me.
Devin. Wow. Ooh. Okay.
So there's that. So
Okay.
again, I like Florida. I like where I'm at. I will stay here. Anyway, Mark Corelli, I bet you I said that wrong. Thanks for the $4.99. If you've already discussed this in a previous podcast, please ignore. We never ignore super chat, so that won't happen. But does the all-state cotton candy commercial slam Michigan? Yes, it does. That the one where where some dude, I forget who's eating the cotton candy, and the Michigan fans on the jumbotron reaching up and stealing the cotton. There's a couple commercials that are slamming Michigan and the sign stealing thing. If you ask me, Nevada, what do you think?
I wish it was more overt. Anything Michigan just annoys me. So even though even though Woodson was, yeah, as a Packer, was one of my favorite players, even though he's a Michigan guy, hated him when he was at Michigan, loved him when he was with the Packers. But yeah, I mean, I just that commercial. I don't know why that commercial bugs me, because everything about Michigan bothers me right now. And so every
Yeah.
time I see that on, it doesn't amuse me. I'm not tickled. I'm not like, oh, that's so cute, or that's something. I'm just like, I'm in. No, it makes me not want to use Allstate or whatever the heck that they're trying to sell.
Yeah, no, my first impression of it is as well trying to make fun and light of a situation that I think was way more serious than people make it out to be. But whatever, that's done and over. I had several discussions with Nevada. That is the first, all those people that wanted my picture from seeing me on Scoop, which was I met 3 people that recognized me from the Scoop channel. 2 of them asked me a question. The very first question they asked, which is to be understood, is, "Hey, what was up with that the Michigan stuff?" And I had to go on the long thing, and I'm like, "Listen, it's a crazy world we live in. Money rules everything. The NCAA needed some money. They got their money. Not to bring up old things, but I figured I would share that with you. That's what people wanted to know, and I gave him a good answer. I said what you would have said to him for sure.
Yeah, no, that's I'll never understand that one, man. I'll never understand. I mean, I'll never understand. I think it's a joke that they can even talk about having postseason bans still in the bylaws now, because if this one didn't qualify as an aggravated failure to monitor repeat offender, then nothing will ever qualify for bowl ban. And if anybody gets a bowl ban, they should scream to high heaven because Michigan skated with a fine. So
Well,
they need to change the legislation and take it out, because it's a joke at this point.
the thing is it said in the NCAA, they said this requires a post ban, a postseason ban.
Yeah, it
So
wasn't
it required it.
it wasn't suggested. It wasn't
Required it.
hinted at. It was required. This required. I like I said, I'll never understand that.
No, never at all. But anyway, chat, we appreciate you guys for watching. Appreciate you joining us tonight. I'll be on tomorrow. Probably dive in more to the Washington game. I'm sure Nevada B. Moses will pop on as well. So appreciate the super chats. Don't forget to hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Go check out the Scoop board. A lot of good things going on over there. The helping technicians dropping nuggets all the time. Very interesting stuff. Insider info on the team. Go check that out over there. Nevada, Funky B. Moses, Joe Germain, all kind of people over there. Coaches, a lot of football knowledge over there. If you want to get smarter about the game of football, go over there. You ask a question in that chat, you'll get answers from 10 different football geniuses, and that's what you like. Combine it all together and be the smartest one in the room if that's your goal. But we appreciate you guys for watching. Go Buckeyes. OH.
IO.